Jack Mason stared at the official summons in his hand. The gold-trimmed paper felt oddly heavy, as if carrying the weight of something important. The Galactic Council rarely contacted humans directly, especially not former diplomats who now ran small shipping companies. "What do they want with me?" he muttered, running a hand through his brown hair, now showing strands of gray at the temples. His ship, the Wandering Star, was currently docked at Proxima Station for routine maintenance. The summons required him to travel to the massive council station within 3 standard days. Jack sighed and tucked the paper into his jacket pocket. "Olivia," he called over the ship's comm system. "How long until repairs are complete?" "About 6 hours, Captain," replied Olivia Daniels, his chief engineer. Her voice echoed slightly in the empty cargo hold. "Something wrong?" "Maybe. I need to make a trip to Council Station. The big wigs want to see me for some reason." "Council Station? That's odd. Want company?" Jack considered this. "No, keep the ship ready. I'll take the transit shuttle. If I'm not back in 3 days, come looking." 2 days later, Jack stood in the massive central atrium of Council Station. The enormous space buzzed with activity as representatives from hundreds of species moved between meetings. Towering holographic displays showed news from across the galaxy in dozens of languages. Jack felt small and distinctly human among the varied life forms. A blue-skinned Medusan attendant approached. "Human Jack Mason?" "That's me. Please follow." The council representatives await in Chamber 12B. Jack followed the attendant through a maze of corridors. His diplomatic training from years ago came back automatically. Back straight, face neutral, steps measured. Whatever this was about, it wouldn't help to look nervous. Chamber 12B was smaller than he expected. Instead of the full council assembly, only 5 representatives sat at a curved table. Jack recognized the species: an Arkelian with shimmering, scaled skin, a gelatinous Phoros contained in a hovering environment suit, a reptilian Saurian, a crystalline Lithoid, and a furry Canid. The Arkelian spoke first. "Human Jack Mason, I am Ambassador Zix Toril of the Arkelian Empire. You stand before a special committee of the Galactic Council." Jack bowed slightly. "I'm honored, though confused by the summons." "You once served as a human diplomat to our worlds, correct?" the Saurian asked, yellow eyes blinking slowly. "Yes, for 7 years. That was almost a decade ago." Ambassador Zix Toril tapped a crystal on the table. A hologram appeared showing an elderly Arkelian adorned with elaborate royal symbols. "Do you recognize King Vorketh of the Arkelian Empire?" Zix Toril asked. Jack studied the image. "Yes, I met him briefly during trade negotiations 8 years ago. We spoke privately afterward about Earth literature. He seemed fascinated by Shakespeare." The representatives exchanged glances. The Phoros bubbled rapidly, which Jack knew indicated surprise. "King Vorketh died 3 standard weeks ago," Zix Toril continued. "His final will and testament has created a situation." Jack waited, unsure where this was heading. "The king named you specifically in his will, a most unusual honor for a human." "I'm sorry to hear of his passing," Jack said, "but I don't understand. What could he possibly leave to me?" The Lithoid representative made a sound like crystals chiming. "Not what, human, who?" A door on the far side of the chamber slid open. A young Arkelian female entered, escorted by 2 royal guards. She appeared to be the equivalent of a human 12-year-old, though Jack knew Arkelians aged differently. Her scales shimmered with a pearlescent quality, and she wore simple but clearly royal garments. Her yellow eyes fixed on Jack with undisguised suspicion. "This is Princess Lyra, 7th daughter of King Vorketh," Zix Toril said. "According to the king's final wishes, you are now her legal guardian." Jack's mouth fell open. "I'm... what?" the Canid representative growled softly. "This is absurd. A human cannot raise an Arkelian royal. He knows nothing of their customs, their biology, their needs." "Nevertheless," Zix Toril continued, "the king's will is clear. Until Princess Lyra reaches the age of full adulthood at 20 standard years, you are her guardian and protector." Jack looked at the young princess, who stood perfectly still, her face showing no emotion, a trait Arkelians were famous for. Why? Me? Jack asked. Surely there are thousands of qualified Arkelians who could— She is a seventh daughter, Zixtoral interrupted. In our culture, this carries complications. The Saurian representative hissed softly. Superstitions and— Nonsense. Cultural traditions, Zixtoral corrected firmly. King Vorketh believed you possessed qualities that would make you suitable. He referenced your conversation about human literature, apparently. Jack remembered that conversation. The king had been particularly interested in King Lear and its themes of fathers and daughters. At the time, Jack thought it was merely academic interest. What happens if I refuse? Jack asked. The representatives shifted uncomfortably. The furrows bubbled slowly, its translator converting the sounds to words. The princess would become a ward of the council. She would be raised by committee with no true guardian. This is not optimal. Jack looked at Princess Lyra again. Behind her perfect composure, he caught a flicker of something in her eyes. Fear? Resignation? Princess Lyra, Jack said directly to her. What do you want? The council representatives murmured in surprise. Arkelian children were rarely addressed directly in formal settings. The princess tilted her head slightly. When she spoke, her voice was clear and formal. What I want is irrelevant, human. My father made his decision. Jack took a deep breath. May I have a moment to think? Of course, Zixtoral said, but know that if you accept, you must leave with the princess today. There are political elements that make delay unwise. Jack stepped away from the table, his mind racing. This made no sense. Why would an Arkelian king entrust his daughter to a human? What had he seen in Jack during their brief meeting? He remembered how the king had quoted from King Lear. Truth's a dog must to kennel, he must be whipped out when Lady the Brach may stand by the fire and stink. Jack had asked what the quote meant to him, and the king had replied, sometimes, only those outside the court can see clearly. Looking back at the young princess, Jack made his decision. I accept, he said simply. The lithoid and canid representatives made sounds of disbelief. The saurian hissed. The human accepts. How amusing. This will be. Zixtoral nodded solemnly. Very well. Ambassador Krenvos will provide you with the necessary documentation and guidance. Princess Lyra's belongings have been prepared. You may return to your ship when ready. As Jack approached Princess Lyra, he noticed the royal guards step back, their duty apparently fulfilled. Hello, Princess, he said softly. I'm Jack Mason. I knew your father briefly, but I respected him. The princess looked up at him, her yellow eyes unblinking. My father was considered strange by many. This decision proves they were right. Despite himself, Jack smiled. I've been called strange too. Maybe that's why he chose me. For just a moment, a flicker of curiosity passed across the princess's face. Then it was gone, replaced by cool formality. I am ready to depart, Guardian. As they left the chamber, Jack heard one of the representatives say quietly, a human raising an Arkelian princess. The galaxy will laugh at this folly. Jack placed a gentle hand on the princess's shoulder. Let them laugh, he murmured. We'll see who has the last one. The journey back to the Wandering Star was quiet. Princess Lyra walked slightly behind Jack, her steps measured and graceful. She carried herself with perfect posture, just as she had been taught in the royal courts. Jack noticed how other travelers moved aside, some staring openly at the unusual pair, a human man and an Arkelian royal child. When they reached the docking bay, Jack stopped and turned to her. This is my ship, he said, gesturing to the Wandering Star. The vessel was small by galactic standards, a modified transport ship with a rounded hull and visible repair patches along its side. Princess Lyra looked at the ship, then at Jack. For the first time, her composed expression faltered slightly. This is not a royal vessel, she said. Jack smiled. No, it's not. It's a working ship. We transport goods between systems. We? My crew. There are 4 of us total. Well, 5 now with you. The princess's yellow eyes widened slightly, then narrowed. I am not crew. No, you're family now, Jack said quietly. Come meet the others. The airlock door slid open with a hiss. Jack led the princess inside and called out, Crew meeting in the common area. The common area was the largest space on the ship aside from the cargo hold. It had a table, chairs bolted to the floor, and a small food preparation area. 3 humans were already gathered there when Jack arrived with the princess. Everyone, this is Princess Lyra of the Arkelian Empire, Jack said. She'll be staying with us. Princess, this is my crew. A tall woman with dark skin and curly hair stepped forward first. I'm Olivia Daniels, Chief Engineer. Welcome aboard, Princess. She smiled warmly. Next came a stocky man with a scar across his chin. Frank Ortega, Security Specialist. Nice to meet you, Your Highness. He gave a slight bow. The third crew member was a woman with short red hair and kind eyes. Dr. Samantha Wells, Medical Officer. I'm looking forward to learning about Arkelian physiology. Princess Lyra regarded them all without expression. You may address me as Princess Lyra, she said formally. An awkward silence followed. Jack cleared his throat. Samantha, could you show the princess to the spare cabin? She'll need to get settled in. Of course, Dr. Wells said. Follow me, Princess Lyra. After they left, Olivia turned to Jack with wide eyes. A princess? An Arkelian princess? What happened at that meeting? Jack ran a hand through his hair. It's complicated. The king died and named me her guardian in his will. She's his 7th daughter. Frank whistled low. 7th daughter of an Arkelian. That's big trouble in their culture. You know about that, Jack asked. I worked security for an Arkelian trade delegation once. They're superstitious about 7th daughters. Think they bring change or something. Olivia shook her head. But why give her to you? I have no idea, Jack admitted. I met the king once years ago. We talked about Shakespeare. Somehow that qualified me to raise his daughter. What about her mother? Olivia asked. Not mentioned. Arkelian royal marriages are political. The children are raised by the court, not the parents. Frank leaned against the wall. So what's the plan, Captain? Jack sighed. We continue as normal. We have a delivery to make at Centauri Colony. The princess comes with us. The crew quarters aren't exactly royal accommodations, Olivia pointed out. She'll have to adjust, Jack said. We all will. 2 days later, the Wandering Star left dock and set course for Centauri Colony. Princess Lyra had barely spoken since coming aboard. She spent most of her time in her small cabin, emerging only for meals, which she picked at with obvious distaste. On the 3rd day of their journey, Jack found her standing alone in the observation room, staring out at the stars streaking past. May I join you? He asked. The princess gave a small nod without looking at him. Jack stood beside her, watching the stars. I know this isn't what you're used to, he said finally. No, she agreed. It is not. What was your life like before? In the palace? For a long moment she didn't answer. Then, still looking at the stars, she said, Lonely. The simple admission surprised Jack. Lonely. But weren't there other children? Your sisters? My sisters were raised separately. As the 7th daughter, I was kept apart. Because of the superstition? Princess Lyra turned to look at him. It is not superstition. It is tradition. 7th daughters are different. Different. How? Instead of answering, she asked, Why did you accept guardianship of me? You do not know me. You do not understand our ways. Jack considered his answer carefully. Your father must have had a reason for choosing me. I respect that, and, he paused, no child should be alone. The princess studied his face as if searching for something. Humans are very strange, she said finally. Jack smiled. So I've been told. Later that evening, as the crew gathered for dinner, Princess Lyra emerged from her cabin. She stood in the doorway of the common area, watching as Olivia and Frank argued good-naturedly about the best way to prepare the meal. Dr. Wells noticed her first. "Princess Lyra, please join us." The princess approached the table cautiously. Jack pulled out a chair for her, which she accepted with a formal nod. "What are you making?" she asked, looking at the food with suspicion. "Pasta with synthetic protein," Olivia said. "It's one of our favorites." "I have studied human foods. They are mostly incompatible with Arkelian biology," the princess stated. Dr. Wells smiled. "I've been researching Arkelian dietary needs. I prepared something special for you." She placed a bowl in front of the princess containing a blue-green mixture. Princess Lyra looked surprised. "This is similar to krell meal, a common Arkelian food." "Try it," Dr. Wells encouraged. "I synthesized it based on medical records." The princess took a small bite, then another. "It is, acceptable." Jack saw Dr. Wells beam with pride. As they ate, Frank told stories about security jobs he'd worked before joining the Wandering Star. The princess listened quietly, occasionally asking a question about human customs she didn't understand. After dinner, as they were clearing the table, the ship's alarm suddenly blared. "Warning, unknown energy signature detected in crew quarters," the computer announced. Frank immediately pulled out a small weapon. "Location? Princess Lyra's cabin," the computer responded. All eyes turned to the princess, who looked suddenly frightened, the first real emotion Jack had seen from her. "It's nothing dangerous," she said quickly. "It's just happening more now." "What's happening?" Jack asked. Before she could answer, Dr. Wells's handheld scanner beeped urgently. She looked at the readings, then at the princess with astonishment. "She's generating a psionic field," Dr. Wells said. "Empathic in nature." "Empathic abilities?" Olivia asked. "Like mind reading?" "No," the princess said softly. "Feeling. I can feel what others feel. It is why seventh daughters are kept separate. It is forbidden." Jack remembered the king's quote about truth and courts. Suddenly, things began to make sense. "Your father sent you to me because he knew I wouldn't suppress this ability," Jack realized aloud. Princess Lyra nodded slowly. "Humans cannot be read easily. Your minds are different. He must have known this would happen away from the suppressors." The alarm continued to sound until Dr. Wells reset the system. "The energy signature is harmless," she assured everyone. That night, as Jack checked on the princess before sleep cycle, he found her sitting on her bed looking smaller and younger than her royal bearing usually allowed. "I am sorry for the alarm," she said. "Don't be," Jack told her. "You don't need to hide who you are here." Princess Lyra looked up at him. "What if who I am is dangerous?" Jack smiled gently. "Then we'll figure it out together." For the first time since they'd met, Princess Lyra's lips curved in the smallest hint of a smile. 6 months passed aboard the Wandering Star. Princess Lyra no longer walked with the stiff royal posture she had arrived with. She moved more freely now, sometimes even running down the corridors when she was excited about something. Her formal royal garments had been replaced with practical clothes similar to what the crew wore, though she kept one royal dress carefully stored in her cabin. Jack watched her progress with growing pride. Today, she was in the engine room with Olivia learning about the ship's systems. The princess had shown a surprising interest in engineering. "Captain, incoming message," Frank called from the communication station. "It's marked urgent and encrypted. Council-level security." Jack frowned. The council rarely contacted private vessels directly. "Put it through to my quarters." In his small cabin, Jack activated the secure channel. A holographic image appeared, showing Ambassador Zix Toral's scaled face. "Captain Mason," the ambassador said, "I must speak with you about Princess Lyra." "Is something wrong?" Jack asked. "There have been developments. Prince Vornax, the princess's half-brother, has been crowned the new king. He has filed a formal petition with the council to have Princess Lyra returned to Arkelian custody." Jack felt a chill. On what grounds? He claims the late king was not of sound mind when he made his will. He also claims the princess requires special cultural education that humans cannot provide. She's doing well here, Jack argued. She's happy. The ambassador's expression remained neutral. This is not about happiness, Captain. This is about politics. Prince Vornax, King Vornax now, has significant influence in the council. Why does he want her back now? He didn't want her before. Ambassador Zixtoral paused. I am not supposed to tell you this, but I respected the late king. There are ancient texts that speak of seventh daughters with empathic abilities. They call them world shapers. It is said they can change the course of empires. Jack's thoughts raced. Her abilities have been growing stronger. As I feared, the new king will want to control those abilities, or eliminate them. What should I do? Be careful, Captain. Trust few. I will delay the council's decision as long as possible. There is a data packet attached to this message. The late king prepared it for you. I was to deliver it if his son ever made a move against the princess. The transmission ended. Jack downloaded the data packet and studied it. It contained old stories about world shapers, maps of abandoned Arkelian outposts, and a personal message from the late king. Jack played the message. The old king's holographic image appeared. Captain Mason, if you are seeing this, my son has made his move. I chose you because your mind was closed to me when we met. Humans naturally resist our empathic probing. This makes you the perfect guardian for Lyra. My son fears what she will become. A true world shaper has not existed in 10,000 years. They can sense emotions across vast distances, connect minds, even influence the feelings of entire populations. In the wrong hands, such power could create tyranny. In the right hands, it could bring understanding across the galaxy, keep her safe, help her become what she is meant to be. The message ended. Jack sat in silence for a long time. Then he called the crew together, including Princess Lyra. When everyone had gathered in the common area, Jack explained the situation. The new king wants Princess Lyra returned, he finished. And now we know why. Her empathic abilities make her important and potentially dangerous to his rule. Princess Lyra looked frightened. I don't want to go back. They will put me in isolation again. Olivia put an arm around the princess's shoulders. We won't let that happen. Frank looked grim. We can't fight the entire Arkelian Empire, or the Council. We don't have to fight, Dr. Wells said thoughtfully. We just need to keep moving until Lyra's powers fully develop. How long would that take? Princess, Lyra considered this. Traditionally, world shapers come into their full abilities at the age of 14. I am 12 and a half now. A year and a half, Jack said. We need to stay ahead of them for a year and a half. And then what? Frank asked. Jack had no answer. The future beyond keeping Lyra safe was unclear. The next day, while docked at a remote trading post for supplies, Jack noticed a sleek official vessel arrive. A tall Arkelian in formal diplomatic attire disembarked. We have company, Jack told. Frank threw his communicator. Get back to the ship now. Tell Olivia to prepare for immediate departure. What about you and the princess? Frank asked. We're still in the market. We'll make our way back separately. Jack found Princess Lyra examining colorful fabric at a merchant's stall. We need to go, he said quietly. Don't look around, but we're being followed. The princess nodded, showing no outward sign of alarm. She had learned well in the past months. They walked casually through the market, taking an indirect route back to the docking bay. Someone is very angry nearby, Princess Lyra whispered. I can feel it. Anger and determination. Jack glanced around and spotted two Arkelian security officers moving through the crowd. This way, he said, guiding her down a narrow side passage between stalls. They were halfway to the ship when Princess Lyra suddenly stopped. Jack, she said, using his first name for the first time. There's someone ahead too, they're waiting for us. Jack looked around desperately. They were trapped between the market and the docking bay. Then he noticed a maintenance hatch on the wall. "Can you fit through there?" he asked. Princess Lyra examined it. "Yes, but you can't." "I'll create a distraction. Get to the ship. Tell Olivia to take off if I'm not back in 10 minutes. "No," Princess Lyra grabbed his arm. "I won't leave you." "It's my job to protect you," Jack said firmly. "And it's my job to protect you too," she replied. Then she closed her eyes. "I'm going to try something." Before Jack could stop her, Princess Lyra focused her empathic abilities. He felt a strange sensation like a wave passing through him. The princess's scales began to shimmer with an inner light. In the market behind them, confused shouts arose. Jack peered back and saw the Arkelian security officers looking around in confusion, as if they had forgotten what they were doing. "What did you do?" he asked in amazement. "I clouded their emotions," Princess Lyra said, her voice strained. "Made them forget their purpose for a moment. But it won't last long." They hurried through the docking bay. The Wandering Star's engines were already warming up. As they reached the ship, the diplomat Jack had seen earlier stepped out from behind a cargo container. "Princess Lyra," he said formally. "I am diplomat Kren Voss. The council has sent me to monitor your welfare." "Monitor or kidnap?" Jack asked, positioning himself between the diplomat and the princess. "Merely observe," Kren Voss said smoothly. "The council wishes to ensure the princess is being properly cared for. I have documents authorizing me to travel with you." Jack hesitated. If the council had already assigned an observer, refusing would only make things worse. "You may come aboard," he said finally. "But understand this. Princess Lyra is under my protection by the late king's order. Anyone who threatens her will answer to me." Diplomat Kren Voss bowed slightly. "Of course, Captain. I am here only to observe and report." As they boarded the ship, Princess Lyra whispered to Jack, "He is hiding something. I can feel it." Jack nodded. "Stay close to me or Frank at all times. Don't be alone with him." The Wandering Star lifted off minutes later, leaving the trading post behind. Jack knew they were now in a dangerous game of politics and power. Somewhere out there, a new king worried about a young girl and what she might become. And aboard his small ship, that girl was growing stronger every day. That night, Jack found Princess Lyra in the observation room again, watching the stars. "Are you afraid?" he asked her. She turned to him, her yellow eyes thoughtful. "Yes, but not of what will happen to me. I'm afraid of what I might become." Jack put a hand on her shoulder. "Whatever you become, you won't face it alone, Princess." Lyra smiled, a real smile that transformed her face. "Then I'm not afraid anymore." 3 months later, the Wandering Star drifted in a remote sector of space. Jack stood on the bridge studying star charts while Olivia managed the controls. Princess Lyra sat nearby, reading data from an old tablet. "We can't keep running forever," Frank said quietly to Jack. "Our supplies are limited and we've already turned down 3 good shipping contracts." Jack nodded. "I know, but we need to find somewhere safe." "There is nowhere safe from the council if they really want to find us," Frank pointed out. Across the bridge, diplomat Kren Voss was taking notes. He had been watching their every move for months, sending regular reports back to the council. Though he was polite and never interfered, his presence was a constant reminder of their precarious situation. Princess Lyra suddenly looked up from her tablet. "I found something," she said. "In the files my father left us. There's an old Arkelian space station in this sector. It was abandoned centuries ago." Jack moved to look at her screen. "What kind of station?" "A research outpost." "The coordinates are here," Princess Lyra pointed. "It might have information about world shapers." Jack considered this. "Olivia, can we get there without being detected?" Olivia studied the coordinates. "It's in a dense asteroid field. Tricky navigation, but it would hide us from long-range scanners." "Then, that's where we're heading." Diplomat Kren Voss cleared his throat. "Captain Mason, I should inform you that deviating from your filed flight plan is a violation of council regulations." Then file an updated plan, Jack replied. Tell them we're searching for salvage in the asteroid field. That's not unusual. For ships like ours? The diplomat nodded slowly. I will do so. But I must remind you that my duty is to report all activities regarding Princess Lyra. I understand your position, Jack said, and I hope you understand mine. We're protecting her. 2 days later, the wandering star carefully navigated through the dense asteroid field. Olivia's skilled piloting brought them to a large, dark structure, floating among the rocks. The station was round with long, spoke-like extensions. It showed no lights or signs of power. Life support systems, Guy? Jack asked. Dr. Wells checked her instruments. The central hub still has atmosphere, but it's thin. We'll need breathing gear. Jack assembled an exploration team. Himself, Princess, Lyra, Frank for security, and Dr. Wells with her scientific equipment. Olivia would stay with the ship ready for quick departure if needed. Diplomat Krenvos insisted on joining them, citing his duty to observe. They docked at an airlock that Frank had to manually override. Inside, emergency lights on their suits illuminated dusty corridors and abandoned research equipment. This station is very old, Princess Lyra said, her voice filled with wonder. From before the Unification Wars. They made their way to what appeared to be the main research center. Ancient consoles lined the walls covered in dust. In the center stood a large cylindrical device. Dr. Wells examined the technology. Some of these systems might still work if we can power them up. Frank found an old auxiliary power unit and managed to get it running. The lights flickered on and some of the consoles began to hum. Princess Lyra moved to one of the terminals and placed her hand on the interface. To everyone's surprise, it responded to her touch, glowing with a soft, blue light. How did you do that? Jack asked. The system recognizes Arkelian royal DNA, she explained. My father must have known this place existed. Data began to appear on the screens. Princess Lyra read the ancient Arkelian text, translating for the others. This was a research station dedicated to studying empathic abilities, she said. They were trying to understand how world shapers could connect minds across distances. Jack looked at the cylindrical device in the center. What is that? Princess Lyra studied more of the data. It's an amplifier. It was designed to enhance and focus empathic abilities. Dr. Wells scanned the device with her instruments. It seems compatible with current Arkelian biology. It might actually work with Lyra's abilities. Diplomat Krenvos had been silent until now. This technology was banned after the Unification Wars, he said. It was considered too dangerous. Why? Jack asked. Because it could allow one mind to influence thousands, the diplomat explained. Imagine if someone could make an entire planet feel what they wanted them to feel. Princess Lyra looked troubled. Is that what I could become? Someone who controls others? Jack put a hand on her shoulder. That depends on the choices you make, not the abilities you have. As they continued exploring the station, Dr. Wells discovered an archive room filled with physical records, actual books and paper documents. These haven't been digitized, she said excitedly. They won't be in any council database. They spent hours examining the records. Princess Lyra found historical accounts of world shapers throughout Arkelian history. They weren't rulers, she said, reading intently. They were mediators. They helped resolve conflicts by helping people understand each other's feelings. Jack nodded. That makes sense. True empathy would make it hard to fight someone if you could feel their pain. But the military leaders saw them as threats, Princess Lyra continued. They began hunting them down, claiming they were manipulating people's minds. Frank, who had been watching their backs, suddenly spoke up. We've got company. A ship just entered the asteroid field. Jack's communicator crackled with Olivia's voice. Captain, it's an Arkelian royal vessel. They're hailing us and demanding we surrender the princess. Jack looked at Diplomat Krenvos. Did you tell them where we were? The diplomat looked genuinely surprised. No, my last report was simply that we were salvaging in this sector. I said, nothing about this station. Princess Lyra studied his face, then nodded. He's telling the truth. He didn't betray us. Then how did they find us? Jack wondered. It doesn't matter, Frank said. We need to leave now. As they hurried back toward the airlock, Princess Lyra suddenly stopped in front of the amplifier device. I need to try something, she said. Before Jack could stop her, she placed both hands on the device. It glowed brightly, responding to her touch. Princess Lyra closed her eyes in concentration. I can feel them, she whispered. The crew of that ship. They're afraid but determined. They've been ordered to bring me back at any cost. The device glowed brighter. Princess Lyra's scales began to shimmer with the same light they had seen when she confused the security officers months ago. Princess, that's enough, Jack said, concerned. We need to go. But Princess Lyra was deep in concentration. Wait, I can show them. I can show them how I feel. The amplifier pulsed with energy. For a moment, everyone in the room felt a wave of emotions that weren't their own. Fear, determination, hope, and a deep desire for freedom. It was overwhelming. Diplomat Kren Voss staggered back. By the ancient stars, he whispered. Is this what you feel? Princess Lyra opened her eyes. Yes, and now they feel it too. Jack's communicator crackled again. Olivia's voice was confused. Captain, something strange is happening. The Arkelian ship is backing off. They're sending a message saying they need to reconsider their orders. Frank looked amazed. What did you do? I showed them my feelings, Princess Lyra said simply. And yours. How we care for each other. How afraid I am of going back. How determined you all are to protect me. Dr. Wells checked her instruments. The amplifier increased her range exponentially. She reached the entire crew of that ship. Diplomat. Krenvos was staring at Princess Lyra with new understanding. This is why the old texts call them world shapers, he said quietly. They don't control minds. They create understanding. Jack helped Princess Lyra away from the device as she suddenly looked tired. Time to go home, he said gently. Home, Princess Lyra repeated, smiling at the word as she looked at the humans around her. Yes. Let's go home. The news spread quickly through the galaxy. An Arkelian royal ship had refused direct orders from King Vornax. The crew claimed they could not in good conscience capture Princess Lyra after experiencing her true feelings. It was unprecedented. Jack sat in his quarters aboard the Wandering Star, watching reports on multiple channels. Diplomat Krenvos stood nearby, composing what would surely be his most important report to the council. What will you tell them? Jack asked. The diplomat considered the question. The truth, that Princess Lyra used ancient technology to share emotions, not control minds. That she acted in self-defense, and that I witnessed it firsthand. Will it make a difference? It already has, Krenvos said. 5 council representatives have requested emergency hearings on the princess's status. This cannot be ignored or dismissed anymore. A soft knock interrupted them. Princess Lyra entered, looking more confident than Jack had ever seen her. The council has summoned us, she said. All of us, even your crew. Jack raised his eyebrows. The full council? Not just a committee? The full council, she confirmed. They want to see a world shaper for themselves. 3 days later, the Wandering Star docked at Council Station. A formal escort waited for them, not guards, but honored guides. Word of what had happened had transformed Princess Lyra from an unwanted royal burden into something of a celebrity. The council chamber was massive, with representatives from hundreds of worlds seated in rising tiers. Jack, Princess Lyra, and the crew were led to the center of the floor. King Vornax was already there, his royal guards standing stiffly behind him. He glared at Princess Lyra with barely concealed anger. The council leader, a tall Tellurian with glowing skin, addressed them. We are gathered to resolve the matter of Princess Lyra of the Arkelian Empire, currently under the guardianship of human Captain Jack Mason. Recent events have raised questions that require our attention. King Vornax stepped forward. There is nothing to question. The princess is Arkelian royalty. She belongs with her people, learning our ways. This human has hidden her from us, encouraged dangerous abilities, and interfered with royal matters. Jack kept his face neutral, though anger burned inside him. Princess Lyra touched his hand gently, and he felt a wave of calm flow through him. She was using her abilities, subtly keeping emotions from flaring too high. Captain Mason, the council leader said, "What do you say to these charges?" Jack took a deep breath. "I have followed the legal will of the late King Vorketh, who entrusted Princess Lyra to my care. I have protected her as I promised to do. And yes, I have supported her natural abilities rather than suppressing them." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Princess Lyra stepped forward. "I wish to speak," she said, her voice clear and steady. The council leader nodded. "We will hear you, Princess Lyra. For years, I was hidden away because I was different. The seventh daughter, unwanted and feared. My father saw what others could not, that my abilities were not something to fear, but something to value." She looked at her half-brother. "You want to control me or silence me? But that is not what a world shaper is meant to be," King Vornak scoffed. "World shapers are myths from ancient times. You are simply a child with unusual neural patterns that must be properly managed." "If I may," diplomat Krenvos spoke up. "I have observed Princess Lyra for months now. What I witnessed at the ancient research station was no myth. She did not control minds, she shared understanding. There is a profound difference." The council chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives demanded proof. Others argued about ancient Arkelian legends. The noise grew louder until Princess Lyra raised her hands. "I can show you," she said simply. The chamber fell silent. "Show us what?" the council leader asked. "What I feel. What those around me feel. The truth that all your debates cannot reach." King Vornax moved forward angrily. "This is exactly what we fear. Mind manipulation in the council chamber itself." "It is not manipulation," Princess Lyra said firmly. "It is sharing. And anyone who does not wish to participate may leave." No one moved. Curiosity had overcome fear. Princess Lyra closed her eyes. A soft glow began to emanate from her scales, growing brighter until it filled the chamber. Jack felt it first, a gentle presence in his mind like a question. He nodded, though she could not see him. He trusted her completely. Then it happened. A wave of emotion swept through the chamber, not forced upon them, but offered like a gift. Each person felt the princess's journey, her loneliness in the palace, her fear when sent away with a stranger, her gradual trust in her new human family, her hope for a future where she could use her gifts to help others. And more than that, they felt each other. The council representatives, so often divided by politics and old grudges, suddenly sensed the genuine concerns and hopes of their colleagues. It lasted only minutes, but when it ended, the chamber was transformed. The council leader spoke first, voice filled with wonder. "In 300 years of service, I have never experienced anything like this." King Vornak stood rigid, fighting the effect. "This proves my point. She is too powerful to be left unchecked." "No," said a Saurian representative, rising from her seat. "This proves she is exactly what we need." The Galactic Council was formed to promote understanding between species, yet we spend most of our time arguing. Princess Lyra has shown us another way. Others voiced agreement. The tide was turning. Jack stepped forward. "Princess Lyra is still young. She needs time to grow, to learn to use her abilities responsibly. The late king chose me as her guardian to protect her during this time." The council leader nodded. "And you have done so admirably. But now we must consider the future. A power like this cannot belong to any one empire or species." Princess Lyra looked at Jack, then at the council. "I propose a solution. I will create a new role, not as an Arkelian princess, but as a mediator for the council. Others with empathic gifts could be trained, not to control, but to foster understanding. We could form a corps of mediators to help resolve the conflicts that words alone cannot solve. Murmurs of approval spread through the chamber. Even some of King Vornax's own advisors nodded in agreement. The council voted overwhelmingly to approve Princess Lyra's proposal. King Vornax, seeing he was outnumbered, reluctantly agreed to recognize his half-sister's new status in exchange for maintaining the appearance that it was his idea all along. Afterward, as they prepared to leave the chamber, Princess Lyra turned to Jack. Her yellow eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "Does this mean I can't stay with you anymore?" she asked quietly. Jack smiled and knelt to meet her eyes. "It means you have a bigger home now, but the Wandering Star will always be yours too, and will always be your family." Princess Lyra hugged him tightly. Over her shoulder, Jack saw the council representatives watching. Many of them had laughed when a human was given guardianship of an unwanted Arkelian princess. None of them were laughing now. "So," Olivia said as they walked back to their ship, "does this make us the family of the most important person in the galaxy?" Princess Lyra smiled. "No. It makes me the luckiest former unwanted princess in the galaxy, because I found you." As they boarded the Wandering Star, Jack knew their lives had changed forever. But some changes, he thought as he watched. Princess Lyra laughing with his crew were worth all the trouble in the universe.